Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. How the heck are ya? It's Sunday for me. I had a good night out. First off, starters, happy birthday, Christina. Um, the homies went out and we celebrated for her. We had a good time. Brings me to the food corner. I had some bomb ass lasagna. Kind of had a little spicy kick to it too, which I liked. It was real big, layers. So that was a good time. Fun food. Other than that, though, we can get into it. Got some news for you, of course. Got this from CNN Politics. Jackson faces tight confirmation vote as Graham signals no vote and GOP opposition stiffens. So we covered this a little bit, but Katanji Brown Jackson, she got the nomination from Joe Biden. Hearings were going to start soon, and they started this week. Essentially, these things in the past, like decades back, would go pretty quick, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. For Ruth Bader Ginsburg, back in the day, it was like a 96-3 vote in her favor. That was back in 1993. In 1986, Anton Scalia won a 98-0 vote, and he was a conservative. So it kind of just shows across the board back in the day, when I was a little kid. I guess even before that, obviously, that this shit was pretty straightforward. It was a formality. If a candidate was good for the job, they hired him or them, and they were good. It was easy. But things have definitely become more politically charged as of late. Go back to 2018, Trump's pick, Brett Kavanaugh. He was confirmed 50-48. And there was, I feel like this is a little bit specific. I know some people were like, oh, this is all politics. But he was accused of a sexual assault, which I feel like is definitely something where it's like, oh, people go, damn, do I really want this person to be in, the Supreme Court if they have this, hanging over them? So the conversation definitely became about that. And also they made a comment about how many beers he would drink. With Amy Coney Barrett, it was also tight as well. It was 52-48. The Democrats had objections to her views on abortion, which were pretty rigid. She was very anti. Also, they kind of came at her about religion, which kind of comes back in this hearing now. But we'll get to that. But so essentially just very tight. Also, there was another situation where Mitch McConnell more or less blocked Obama from making a pick that he was, supposed to have towards the end of his election term. And they held out for over a year on having a nomination until Trump was elected. And then Trump was able to make his first pick, which was, I believe, Brett Kavanaugh. So, I mean, just a lot of extra to either make points, to have more sway. Oh, excuse me, that's a big burp. But that really made this whole process a lot stinkier, in my opinion. So for Miss Jackson, or Judge Jackson, I should say, because she's already a judge. I believe she's judge of the DC Appellate Court. So she's already been nominated by these same groups of people for a similar job. This is just more or less an upgrade of that job. Someone who actually gave her a vote in favor back then was Lindsey Graham, who has lately now done some political backtracking in a way and really realigned himself with the Republican Party. And you could really kind of see it in how he interviewed her. It was just very angled, very like, hey, I'm making these points here. He started off saying like, hey, I, have a lawyer background. You were a lawyer as well. She's like, yes. And then he kind of segues this into like, hey, so like you were a defense lawyer for Guantanamo Bay detainees. And you defended them by saying things that were like, oh, America is guilty of war crimes against these people who are being held without, trial, in really bad, terrible conditions. And she countered by saying, like, look, that was the line that, like, in the line and the idea that the defense that, my client wanted me to take. So I took it and defended that to the best of my ability. That was my job. There was also more critiques and criticisms in how she did sentencing. They said that she was too lenient on child porn, which I thought was very crazy. Essentially, because of the fact that it's like, look, she's sticking within the guidelines, and there are other Republican-backed judges who are doing the same kind of choices that she has made in that position. Other beefs that people had. Ted Cruz brought up a stack of books, and he asked her if she was in support of critical race theory, and when she said, I really don't even know how to define that, honestly, like, and at least in terms of how it pertains to me being a judge. And he goes, well, when you were a part of, or I think she still is a part of like a school committee of some sort in Georgia, and I guess the books that they okayed were like these slew of books, and he just pulls them all out and is talking like, hey, like, this is about like whether or not a baby is racist. Like, it's just wild shit. And she's like, look, I'm not here to like okay every book, choice or whatever and say like this is my meaning behind it. Like, I'm a part of this committee and we all made these decisions that these things were okay. So I mean, she was defending that. Another senator asked her to define what a woman was, which is kind of like in regards to kind of a lot of the shit that's going on right now on the rights of a trans person, in regards to Leah Thomas too, I think, which we will be getting to later. But just a whole lot of flim-flam, really messy shit. The way the process goes is you have about 3 days, 3 rounds of like interviews, like 20 minutes. It's all like live public stuff. The Republicans will ask questions to you. The Democrats will as well. But kind of like how I said, it's a lot of grandstanding. Even from the Democratic side, you pretty much heard people just making counterpoints, saying, hey, look, like, this should really be about this and not that. You can clearly see that her, decisions are also parallel with other judges, whether you're Republican or Democratic. Like, this is kind of wild. This is a little bit of a witch hunt. As well as I believe Cory Booker used his time to really more or less just say thank you. It was a very teary-eyed speech where he cried and she cried as well, Judge Jackson. And, more or less just saying, hey, like, this is a big deal. Like, you are the first Black woman who's going to have a shot at this. And, it's amazing. It's awesome. As well as there's other reasons she's qualified is also with her background as a defense lawyer. It's something that's a little bit more rare on the Supreme Court. So that's a good thing. Now, also more or less too, kind of how I was saying, like, yes, these things are decisive, but it goes across party line. So right now in the Senate, like, Democrats have the majority. So as long as everyone sticks to the script, this should just be a formality anyway. It remains to be seen, though. I did read another article where Manchin even says, hey, I'm planning on voting for Judge Jackson, so that's good. Hopefully he sticks to the script. He's a wild card. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about it because it was definitely something that I initially was just like, oh, okay, this is something that happened. Amy Coney Barrett happened. Kavanaugh happened. I wasn't doing coverage then, but like, it didn't seem that major. It just seemed like something that was going to go without a hitch. But then seeing the actual stuff unfold, seeing Lindsey Graham in action was just like, okay, I can't look away. I want to talk about it. In some other news, got this from AP News. Wallets, IDs, but no survivors found in China Eastern crash. So this happened at the top of the week. It was obviously a very sad situation. A Boeing 737-800 plane nosedived, killing 123 passengers. I believe there's no survivors. There's been no one found. The situation was real rough just because, like I said, it nosedived, then it tried to correct, but then just continued to nosedive and crash into like this mountainous area. They've been trying to find the black box, the 2 recorders from the flight, and I believe they found it, one in the middle of the week and then the other one, I believe, this weekend. But essentially that covers the audio that was in the cockpit, and then also just live updates from the plane itself and like how it was, performing. So hopefully they'll have more details. But until then, I believe they grounded all the 737s and they were checking them out, just seeing if everything's on the level, everything's okay. The plane itself is known for being a very reliable, sturdy plane. So, it's definitely a big question mark as to what happened, whether it was cockpit pilot error or it's just a malfunction happened on the plane and that's what, caused the incident to happen. So hopefully we'll have some updates there. But my thoughts and condolences go out to the families, affected. Let's see here. I got some conservatorship news, I should say, about Amanda Bynes. Got this from TMZ. Judge ends conservatorship. She's officially free. So essentially, it's been a 9-year conservatorship that is now lifted for Amanda Bynes. This is a different conservatorship situation than, let's say, the Britney Spears thing. Obviously, that was way more toxic from the family, from the lawyer, even maybe the judge, honestly. Just a big mess, big quagmire. The situation with Amanda Bynes, though, she was definitely having like some mental health issues. Things were going on. I believe the big incident that really kind of pushed things to the conservatorship situation was she had like started a fire in her neighbor's like front yard and then like was laying down with like her pant leg on fire, and like someone called that in, and I guess at that point people knew like, okay, we got to do something here. So the parents were granted a conservatorship over her. But over the 9 years between her parents and the lawyer and Amanda and her own personal growth, she's definitely made a lot of strides. Things are looking good, and the judge has agreed and lifted her conservatorship. So we think that's great. It's awesome news. We love to see it. I don't know in terms of like what the future holds for Amanda. Hopefully, she just does more dope shit and, stays out of the news headlines and like, crazy stuff. Actually, I always dislike this photo just because I feel like it's doing it on purpose. But like TMZ has the photo of her with like the heart symbol on her face because she got a heart tattoo. There was definitely some hijinks. I've seen some of the stuff, but hopefully, like I said, there'll be a lot less of that and just more growth, whether she's in the limelight or not. So. Some other news, some controversy, I guess you could say, I guess depending on how you're looking at it. But I got this from Yahoo Sports and then also The Independent. But swimmer Leah Thomas becomes NCAA's first transgender D1 champion in any sport. So this is a big headline grabber, especially for people who are, I feel like this has definitely been more of a rallying cry for people who are anti-trans rights. I feel like they are really saying, oh, look at this person, transitioned, invaded the sport, and is just dominating and taking over. And I feel like that's the narrative that is being presented, even though when you definitely look at the details of Thomas, her run is definitely just, it's an awesome story. It's an awesome story. It's a situation of a person who is like, look, I'm trying to be a swimmer. I'm trying to live my life. They get to a point where they definitely see and realize like, look, the way my life is going is not the way I want it to be. And they transition, even though they know that is going to be a detriment to their swimming career. And I know people will bring up her record and say, well, she was so low in the runnings as a man and then made this transition, and then all of a sudden she just starts dominating. When that's not the case. She had to take 2 years off, do a bunch of hormone therapy, because the way that it works is you have to more or less have I believe it's testosterone suppression therapy for more than 2 years to, compete in the women's division then. That's just like, I guess, where the sports legalities and the science kind of get together and compromise. So just doing that alone is a crazy, crazy whirlwind on your psyche, on your body, and it's a complete readjustment. And after doing that, then coming, training, working, doing all the things an athlete does, they got to the point where they are now. And no one cared about this until she won, until she got first. Then all of a sudden, it's a big deal. It's a problem. And I feel like this is a common thing, a common trope, where no one's mad about it until it makes a headline. And then they have to scream and shout, and they all of a sudden really care about the integrity of the game. When really it's just they think that this is icky, and it upsets them to see something, such a social change in front of their eyes like this. At the end of the day, hey, my goal isn't really to try to convince you on this, to sell you on this. I know people have their thoughts on this, and they're going to be bedrock to them. They're going to be beholden to them, Can't change it. I'm not going to try. But I definitely support her. I support all athletes, man, women, in between, whatever. You should have the chance to compete. And the whole idea of like, well, why can't they just have a separate league and make it fair for everyone? Like, sports is not a fair thing. The whole point of sports is conquering yourself, conquering adversity, everything, overcoming it. There are people who are major athletes, man, female, whatever, and who have had to go through hormone therapy, not to like transition or what have you, but because their body is different from others. So then they got that procedure, they went through changes, and guess what? They're dominating their field, but no one cares because they're a cisgendered person. No one bats an eyelash about that. The only time that we get arced up about this kind of stuff is if it's like steroids. Like, oh, Barry Bonds is juicing, Mark McGwire is juicing. But deep down, we all loved and watched the home run sprees and all that kind of shit. We loved it. We ate it up as a country. So I just feel like the argument really is bullshit. But I know people are going to make it, and they're going to have their opinion. I think for me personally on like the social media stuff, there's some people I've even decided to like kind of just say, I'm done. I'm not really here to like hear your big long spiel about this because you hate this so much, because all of a sudden you're like into sports, even though the last time you talked about swimming was Michael Phelps. But hey, I get it. You're going to have your opinions. Go off, queen or king. But yeah, here at Isaiah's Newsstand, we're going to be talking about that shit. We're going to be pumping it up. We're going to be giving flowers. So too bad. I guess also too, though, there is a counterpoint. There was some women on the team who did voice, some concern. They didn't like the whole situation. They do try to be supportive of Leah as a person, but then they also say, well, she's like not a woman. And so, I mean, at the same time, though, when you look at these people's rankings, like they're like the 17th. They're like midway people in this conversation. People at the top have been also, to counterpoint, been supportive of Leah. And they said, I wish that she wouldn't have to go through all this because she's an amazing athlete. And anything that she's gone through up until this point does not denote that. But yeah, you can take it or leave it. And hopefully you take it. But to round out, and I'm going to take a little schmirka break and get back to you. But got this from CNN. Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins has died, says the band. R.I.P. We send our condolences. He died at 50 years old. If you're not aware, he was the drummer for the Foo Fighters. Amazing band, love them. Definitely like the first stadium alt rock band that I remember listening to as a kid. Everlong. Oh, that was something from the hijinks from last night. Actually, we were out at a bar, Igby's. Shout out, love that bar. Low key my favorite. We were jamming, we were vibing. And then towards the end, it was like right around last call, they played Everlong, dude. They played Everlong. And like, I don't really know like too many people in my circle if they really fuck with the Foo Fighters for real. I get that, I understand. It's kind of like easy listening, I feel like now for like my generation and younger. Like some people stand it, some people are like Resident Sleep or whatever, I don't know. But Everlong came on. I got bummed. I look over. I see the barkeep. She's bummed. I'm like, man, like this is kind of damn, dude. Like, But so they were on tour. He passed away, I believe, in his hotel. There have been some updates too, which like I don't know. I do kind of hate how like us as a society we definitely want to know the details. We want to get in the guts of what happened, how it happened. But CBS News has said that he had 10 different substances in his system at the time of his death. I believe, let's see, there was marijuana, opioids, tricyclic antidepressants, benzodiazepines. I don't know what that is, but, you know, I don't know. I don't like really want to speak on that. I'd rather just like to stay on the positive on this stuff. And I know you're probably saying, man, Isaiah, you do these like obituaries really bad. You don't cover a lot of people. And sometimes when you do cover people, you're a piece of shit. And then you don't even get into the details. And I'm like, I know, because I'm bad at this, guys. I'm trying. But also, death is hard. I don't like talking about it. And, you know, at the same time, though, there are people that just pop up on my radar. And this is a personal podcast. Like, you're almost in like in my little live newsy journal. So, like, you're going to kind of just get things that come through my stream of consciousness. And this is what I saw and felt away about. I think it was like, one of the Sesame Street characters died a couple weeks ago, and I felt bad about that, but I didn't know how to like incorporate it with everything that was going on at the time. So I missed things. But for sure, thank you for sticking with me here. It's been another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. If you would like to help contribute to the cause, I have a Patreon. That is patreon.com/Isaiah News. That'd be the biggest help. $5 gets you into the Newsy group, which is Discord access, which is like the coolest way to talk to me. I'm trying to form a community of people who talk about news and talk about just pop things, cool things. I would love to have that space. Also, you get a shout out pretty much every month. If you at least have access to a shout out kind of queue list, and I'll be able to talk about things that you want to talk about, or at least give you a shout out and name, and maybe like give you a plug if you got some stuff, essentially use me as your advertising or as a beacon point. So yeah, that's the kind of symbiosis I'm trying to vibe with here. I'm trying to get parasocial here. But other ways to contact me is isaiahnews1@gmail.com. That's the best free way if you want to just like send feedback, what have you. Also, there is the Instagram, Isaiah News 1. There is Isaiah_news for the Twitter. And I believe Isaiah News on Facebook. It might be Isaiah News 1, but you'll find me one way or the other. Also, I don't know what actual app or device you're using to listen to me on. I know I'm big on Spotify and iTunes or Apple Podcasting, whatever. But you can generally find me on a lot of places, which I'm really, once again, thankful to Anchor for. So, yeah. But other than that, I'm done chilling. I hope you guys have an amazing week. I love you guys. And I hope I see you soon for some more good news. Bye-bye. Mwah.